Hi everyone. So this is round one of 2018 Term 4 Perth Chess Academy. Played on the 13th of October. Okay, this is Matthew versus Jim. Now Matthew actually got the bye, and Jim was one of the parents of the students who stepped in to make sure he had that he could actually play a game. There's something worse than having turning up for a tournament day and being allocated the bye and not having to play anyone. So very big thank you to Jim. He really helps greatly. I greatly appreciate it. Having someone who's willing to step in and give these guys a really strong game when they get the bye. So let's get into this. Matthew is white, so we got d4, f5, Dutch defense. One of my favorites. Knight c3, knight f6, bishop g5, and what we have here is Leningrad Dutch. Now, I'm not a fan of playing g6 here. I don't like the idea that white can just take the knight and sort of wreck black's pawn structure. I mean, the biggest problem is this bishop is not very comfortably placed. It doesn't want to really charge out this way onto the queen side because of the holes created in g6 and g7 and h6. And if the bishop sits on g7, it's generally very passive for pretty much the whole game. It's just not a very happy piece. So, against these early g5 moves, I think you're kind of forced to play an e6 kind of line, just so you don't end up with silly looking bishops. But basically, in this sort of situation, when they play knight c3, I avoid the Leningrad Dutch altogether. I mean, I'm a Leningrad Dutch player myself. I don't like playing g6 here. I generally think that d5 is a much better way to handle this opening because it stops the quick and immediate e4. The whole point of knight c3 is to get a really super fast e4 in and really try and punish black for pushing this king's bishop's pawn up the board. I mean, this move, it doesn't develop peace and it weakens the king. So playing knight c3 and going a quick e4 is a very very solid way to try and play this opening. And d5 I think is the way that black should handle this because it puts a bind on e4 and it stops white, from getting a quick e4 in. So knight f6. I mean, in order to avoid this whole bishop g5 stuff, you could try playing g6 early. And the idea is that you get your bishop to g7 first before you play knight f6. The problem with this sort of move order, though, particularly with knight on c3, is that your opponent can do stuff like h4 and just go for an immediate hack attack on the king, and it's terrifying. And it's very, I think it's quite strong for white. It's something that I've struggled with myself as black in these sorts of positions. So let's actually get back into the game. Knight f6, bishop g5. I think g6 should have been answered by taking. Even h4 right now, I think is a pretty strong move that can be played. If we look at the openings book really quickly, the two moves played, generally are bishop takes and h4. You can sort of see that in the openings book. Okay, let's go on. F3 was played by white here. So white's continuing with this theme of trying to get e4 in. I can't see anything wrong with it for now. I think it's okay. Black could try d5, but that's starting to look a bit dodgy. Maybe what he played bishop g7 is best here. Although after e4, I think white's got quite a strong position. Okay, d6 was the answer there. Yeah, black could be in trouble. This is not your standard Dutch defense with the pawn on f3 and e4. It doesn't. You can't just play it like a standard Leningrad Dutch anymore. I think white's setup is quite good. I think black could find himself under a lot of pressure. So d5 was played now. Now that's a move I do not like at all. I think the pawns in the center side by side like this were very strong. And white probably should just play something like queen d2 and, castle very quickly. Just queen d2, castle long, and then you've got these two center pawns, and you can start looking at e5 sort of advances to try and bust open the center as quickly as possible. So I think this is kind of falling into black's hands quite a bit. And by putting all your pawns on white squares, you're creating these dark squared weaknesses that might be an issue. And now a6 was played. I'm not sure about that move. I mean, the first move that comes to mind is something like c6 here. I kind of like this idea because it lets the queen out where it can actually eye these dark squares and also eye the b7 pawn. And it sort of discourages black from playing queen d2 and castling queenside really quickly because you're threatening to just open up the queenside or at least get some play on the queenside. And it scares white a little bit. A6 is a move you play later on after you've castled and you want to play queen e8 and swing the queen to the king side. The problem with doing this is that the knight goes to b5 and hits c7. So a6 is usually a move played to keep knights out of to b5, but I think it's too early, and I think black instead should, well, obviously c6, or maybe just castle, and just get this king side sorted out first before deciding what to do with these queen side pawns. It's a bit too committal. A6, you're not sure at this stage whether you're playing A6, C6, or even C5. And I know this is a weird looking pawn structure, but it's actually quite playable, and at least a weird and strange position. This is one of the things I like about these sort of Dutch lines. Okay, let's get into it. A6, bishop D3, fairly sensible, I think. Castles, knight G2, so white's just developing in a sensible way. C6. So now that c6 is played, we can sort of see a6 was a bit of a wasted move, and in particular with all these pawns on white squares, these dark squares might become an issue. I can't really see a way to take advantage of it. You know, a4, a5 maybe, and knight a4, knight into b6, bishop e3, bishop into b6. Trying to find a way to get something into b6 is tricky. So it's probably not going to punish black too much. The biggest issue was a waste of a move. That extra move could have been spent developing the bishop, or developing the knight out to a6 instead, or the knight to d7, or just getting these kingside pawns going with h6, g5. Okay, taking. I don't think I like taking. I think that's playing into black's hands quite a bit. Instead, maybe just queen d2. Even then, that's a bit tricky. Stockfish is suggesting taking on f5. Yeah, just maybe trading off a few things. It looks okay for black. Okay, d takes c6 though is kind of giving up the center, just saying black, you have the center. And yeah, knight takes here is fine, developing a piece. B takes is also looking like it's pretty good, having a big mass of center pawns. Once again, it's liking this sort of thing. I think knight takes c6 was sensible. Okay, bishop takes. Oh, that does not look right to me. No, you're giving black the two bishops there, and the two bishops, particularly with this center, just opening up very, very quickly. These pawns are going to get swapped off. Two bishops are going to be very strong and going to bishops are going to just be better than knights. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this move. It doesn't throw away material by force, not that I can see. It just gives black a very comfortable position. Yeah, black's got these extra center pawns, and they're about to start marching up pretty soon. Okay, now rook b1 was played, probably just to free up this knight and stop bishop takes b2 tactics. Queen b6. I mean, it stops white from castling, but it's just vulnerable here. It just runs straight into knight d5. Yeah, instead of rook b1 though, maybe just taking is better. Maybe castling. Oh, castling runs into queen b6 check and then grab the pawn. Queen's not going to get trapped, is it? Maybe not. Yeah, maybe just taking. It's hard to tell. Taking just gives up the center. After g takes, there's just center pawns galore for black. Black's just going to start, d5, e5, and just have a massive center. It's hard to play for white. It's actually quite difficult. Maybe knight g3, but that runs into f4. It's hard to tell. Okay, rook b1. It's a move. It's not bad, but it's hard. It's hard to find good moves for white, so you can't really fault white for playing it. So queen b6, I think I just run straight into knight d5. I'm not sure what actually happened. Yeah, knight d5. Well done to Matthew for yeah, that's definitely the best move. Queen a5 check. It's getting a bit dodgy here. What does Stockfish say? Queen c5, queen a7. Queen a7, you know, looks like the sort of move that I'd be thinking of playing myself. Just keep the queen on this diagonal and stop white from castling. As long as this king is stuck in the center, black's doing really well. Black can just start marching his pawns up the board and get his rooks behind them. Okay, so queen a5 check. Yeah, maybe b4. Is that possible? Here's the queen grab a2. It looks very scary. Stockfish is suggesting b4, so it can't be too scary. And it's saying that queen takes a2 was a blunder. It's interesting. It's probably worth looking at very quickly to see what happens if the queen does try to steal this pawn. Rook b3. Oh, I love it. Just cutting off the queen's escape square, and the queen is out of play and a serious risk of getting trapped. You know, a move like knight c3 traps the queen. So yeah, the queen's got to be careful when it jumps in here. The queen's powerful. It can move a long way, and it's very hard to trap it, but you still have to be careful. Okay, so queen a5 check, and what actually happened here was c3. C3 is okay. Now bishop h8. I mean, yeah, getting the bishop, not letting the knight trade for the bishop is definitely the right idea. But h8 does not look right. Where's this king going to go? The king's just wide open. There's bishops floating around and queens floating around. They put checks on this diagonal, and if the bishop's sitting on h8, the king will have to go to g7 to escape the checks, blocking his own bishop in. I think jumping to g7 is a far better spot, because that way you've still got the h8 square for the king. So yeah, bishop h8. Stockfish is suggesting bishop h4 check. Yeah, Stockfish is suggesting a very strange line where you do this. Weird. I think it's a bit too complex and unnecessary. Just simply bishop g7, and I'm loving black's position. You've got the two bishops, and these center pawns are about to start marching up the board. Okay, so bishop h8 was what was played. Queen b3, good move, really good, and threatening, you know, double checks and double check here, double check there. No. Even just simply discovered check. Check here, grab the rook, check there, grab the rook. It sort of highlights one of the biggest problems with playing bishop h8. The king can't just run to h8 now and escape this. So e6 was played. And yeah, I really like this. Now, this is where black gets punished for this early a6 move. So a6 was... oh, I gotta find a way to turn that auto taking thing off. So a6 was played all the way back on move 6 of the game, and now on move 14, 8 moves later, suddenly it's black pays the price, because the knight jumps into b6, it hits the rook, and white can rip off this bishop if he wants to. I mean, I don't think he wants to. This knight is far more powerful than this bishop. But if he wants to, he can take off the bishop, and black loses his two bishops and a lot of his advantage at the same time. So knight b6 is great. He didn't play it, though. He went knight df4. He ran back to here, which I think, you know, I mean, you can see why. He's got the queen pinning the pawn to the king, and he's piling on the pin piece a second time. So from that point of view, it looks sensible. But it's an attack. It's a threat which is quite easily stopped, quite easily avoided. Well, is it quite easily avoided? It is avoided. I mean, you can take here first. Probably very sensible. Knight e5, switch and zug, attacks the bishop, threatens to take this. Oh, I mean, it means this knight can't move because you take the bishop with check. So what was actually played? Rook f6. And the more I look at it, the more this is starting to look a lot better than I thought originally. I just saw the holes in the queen side and just my eyes lit up and I went, ooh, knight b6. But knight fd4 actually does have some stuff to it. And now bishop c4. So he's still piling on that pawn, trying to really put a lot of pressure on it. Fair enough. Queen e5 can be played here to keep the pawn alive. Putting the queen in the middle looks like a really bad idea. It usually is a very bad idea. Yeah, maybe that just runs into what I mean perpetual, I mean a repetition of position, because you've got knight d3 and then queen has to go back and then the knight can go back here again and you've got a draw. So queen e5 is not an answer. d5, I don't think it's possible. No. F takes e4. It's actually a bit dodgy. The move played was king f7, and that just loses. Takes, because like you look at this, and if bishop takes, then you've just got the simple queen check with a queen fork on the knight and the king. And if the knight jumps back, well, at the knight, the king, and the rook. And so if the knight jumps back here, you grab the rook. The bishop, unfortunately, is tied down to defense of c8, and it can't move. And putting the king onto f7 just opens up that new possibility of queen takes b7 with the queen fork. No, there's got to be a better way to handle this. I mean, stockfish. Let's look at what the engine's saying. So the engine has suggested this a few times. And after knight takes here, oh god, the engine's suggesting some craziness. What? So, yeah, the knight doesn't have any good discovered checks. Or any discovered checks that cause too much damage. Wow, fascinating position. Complex is crazy. I mean, just complex. Yeah. Okay. A lot of pressure there. So what was actually played was king f7. Unfortunately, white did not find the bishop takes e6 move followed by the queen fork, and instead played rook d1, which lets black straight back into the game. But yeah, at this point, white is winning. After king f7, white is winning this. The rook d1 lets black save his position. He's now got the time he needs to play rook b8 and defend his b pawn. So the bishop now truly is defending e6. But this d pawn looks like it's on pre. Why can't white just take it and say thanks to the free pawn? Because of queen e5. But isn't this pin pylon happening? Can't the rook just take on c6? What am I missing? Let's see what I'm missing. Oh, the queen's defending b8. Never mind. Optical illusion. Because when the queen was on e5 and there was a pawn or a rook in the way, it didn't look like the queen was defending it. So yeah, this is quite funny. The queen defends a rook, sort of like an X-ray defense through the rook, and this tactic that I thought existed doesn't exist. Calculation, optical illusion. The engine didn't fall for any of that though. Okay, let's move on. King E, where were I? Rook D1. So King E7 was the move played in order to try and defend this. But once again, this bishop isn't really defending E6 because of the queen fork, queen here. So yeah, just want to quickly make a comment. Back here, my initial thoughts on, where were we? On knight here was that it's just not as good as knight b6. But the more I'm looking at it, the more I realize it puts black under extraordinary pressure. It's actually a very good move, and the follow-up is quite nice with the bishop going to c4. So no, well done to white. Very, very good stuff. King f7 and rook to d1. And king e7 was answered, and yeah, once again, bishop here is just the best move. And once again, white missed that tactic, the deflecting the bishop away from the defense of b7 so the queen fork can win the rook. And he played knight to g3. Knight g3 just loses material according to the engine. Sorry, I'm not trusting my own analysis at the moment because I've messed quite a bit of this up. But it's the sort of position you need to sit down and spend 20 minutes crunching through all the variations. I'm just looking at it and trying to come up with a snap judgment after 30 seconds of thought. So it's not surprising that I'm messing up the analysis a little bit. So f takes e4. Okay, so b5 was played, but according to this move is, according to the engine, this move is the move. Discovered attack on the knight, hitting the knight, and also taking the pawn. And if the knight tries to take on e6, taking advantage of this deflection, getting the bishop off of c8 so the queen can come in and steal a rook, black just ignores that knight and takes here. Pretty cool stuff, actually. And yeah, this king is not looking too healthy at the moment. Yeah, this is just, and this pawn's about to take this pawn here. If he takes back here, then yeah, you got b5, bishop d5, and then you can grab this thing here. And it's quite funny, you can't take the knight because it's pinned to the queen. And yeah, taking there is obviously bad because rook takes check, and black is just a piece up. Quite a fascinating position. Lots of variations. Very complex and weird and strange position, and very hard to understand. It's easy to understand how the players could be missing some of these tactics, because it's very difficult to wrap your head around what's going on here. Okay, so let's actually get there. Knight g3 was played, and so black had the right idea. b5 is an important move in a later variation, as we saw, but playing it straight away is not the move. You had to take on e4 first. No, okay, yeah. Okay, so bishop dropped back to e2. d5 is an option. The point being that if the knight takes the bishop, then the knight comes in here check with a knight fork on the king and the rook. And you get, I think, 2 pieces for the rook. Yeah. So bishop e2 was played, and black decided to retreat back to b6. I think that throws away a lot of the advantage. I mean, the reason for that move seems to be to stop white from castling and strand white's king in the center. But I think taking here with the discovered attack on the knight is definitely the way to go. Definitely the way to play this. The knight has to move, and then you grab this pawn. You win at least a pawn out of it. This king is looking a bit shaky in the middle, but so is this one here. Okay, queen b6, c4. That does not look right at all. I mean, it's more tactics from white. Pinning the pawn to the queen, obviously, and now got 1, 2, 3 attackers on the b pawn, and there's only 2 defenders. So from that point of view, from a tactical point of view, it looks like the right idea. But with the king still stuck in the center, yeah, not liking it. Now, a very surprising option the engine is suggesting is queen d5. The idea is if the pawn takes, then the knight takes back with a knight fork check, and then takes the queen, and that should win a pawn if the pawn takes. Here, black should just ignore it and probably play something like queen c5 and try and just offer the swap off of queens. But yeah, c4 is not good because of the f takes e4, which black didn't play. Black played knight d4, which well, actually also looks very strong. It actually looks very, very strong. This queen is finding it difficult to find good squares. Maybe queen d3 is the way to go. But here, unfortunately, the game just ends immediately because white played queen b4. Probably got too excited by the potential possibility of trying to get some tactic on this pawn here with the rook and the queen, and also trying to keep an enormous amount of pressure on this pawn, and also trying to keep the pin going so the pawn can't take. So wanting to place the queen there is a very attacking choice. Unfortunately, it just loses instantly to knight c2 check, and goodbye queen, and game over. Back here, queen d3, queen c3. Yeah, queen here or here look like the two choices that make sense to me. Queen d3 I like with the doubling on the half open d file, and just have to kick this knight out of here somehow one day. Don't ask me how. You got to move this bishop and then bring a knight round to chase it. It's tricky. maybe this knight, and leave this knight here. This pawn can't ever move up because this knight check is devastating, obviously. So queen d3 looks like the move which is best. Queen b4 was what was played. After knight c2, king f1, knight takes b4. There's really not much left of this game. The game's just over. Yeah, it looks like, I'm not sure, I don't understand this move at all. Knight takes f5 check. The idea, I mean, I understand the reason behind the move. The move is just a swindle. It's just basically hoping, it's playing hope chess, hoping that black takes with the pawn so he can go knight check and get his queen back. But hope chess doesn't work. It's just very easily refuted, just simply rook takes, and that's the end of the game. I mean, you just lost a piece. C takes, A takes, knight d3, knight d4, yeah. But white's just trying to hang on, but it's pretty devastating. Oh, hang on, is there something better than this? I don't know, just 1, 2, 3 attackers, 2 defenders. Just looks like a free knight. Rook takes f2, just wins a piece. A bit surprised by the choice of bishop b7, although it sets up a million discovered checks. It's a prettier looking move, I'll give you that. At this stage, it doesn't really matter what was played. Rook takes, king here. Everything just disappears very quickly. Check. A lovely little checkmate at the end using bishop, pawns, and 2 rooks. Okay, that's about it. This has gone long enough. What a weird position. Crazy, crazy complicated mess in the middle there. Lovely. I mean, this is the sort of position it's the reason we play chess, is for positions like this, where you've got incredibly hard to complicated, incredibly hard to calculate. If this was my game and I was playing either side of this, I would, I'd sink more than 20 minutes. I'd probably sink a good 45 minutes to an hour if I had it on the clock. If it was only an hour each on the clock, I'd probably sink half my time into this one position. Just 30 minutes would just go on this one position. In chess, it's important to be able to identify the crucial positions of the match and spend the majority of your time on those crucial positions. During any sort of one particular chess game, there might only be, 3 to 5 positions that are absolutely crucial. And the rest of the positions you get into, the moves are fairly straightforward. There's fairly simple logical moves that you can make, and you don't need to spend too much time on them. But when you get to the crucial position, that's when you need to really eat through your time. You need to use your time here, right here. Probably a little bit before here, before any of this happened. The decision to go back to H8 was from a positional point of view, it's a bad idea. When I say positional, I mean in terms of king safety. G7 would have avoided that entire headache of the position that resulted when we got to here and you had white generating all this pressure. So it really shows that bishop H8 really did cost black a lot. And lucky for black, white fell for white walked into a knight fork and lost his queen. But the end of the game was quite good for black anyway. Okay, that's about it, almost at half an hour mark. I'm going to finish it off here. I could actually analyze this for another half an hour or so, to be honest. It's such a strange position, and strange is fun. Okay, hope you all learned something from that. I actually did, as you could tell from my umming and ahhing and my confusion over what was going on in this wildly crazy position. I actually learned quite a bit myself. I hope you all did as well. For now, goodbye.